Hi, I'm Sean. Today we're going to be working through a previous calculus question. For everything exam related, you're already in the right spot on Studyclix.ie.
Okay, so here's our question. For part A, we've got to solve the equation x is equal to root x plus 6, where x is a real number. So whenever you're given an equation of x and you're dealing with a square root where x is inside the square root, the first thing you should be thinking is that you're looking for a quadratic. You want to get it in quadratic form so that it becomes possible to solve. So given that we're trying to get this in a quadratic, let's first of all square both sides, which will give us this equation. And now let's put all of our numbers and variables on one side so we can get 0 on the right hand side. Great, so now we've got a quadratic that we can actually solve. And factorizing this, we're going to get the factors x plus 2 and x minus 3, which means our solutions are x is equal to minus 2 and x is equal to 3. So now we've solved the equation, but because we're dealing with the square root and because we had to square both sides originally, we need to test both of our answers and determine which one out of the two, or maybe possibly both of them, actually work in this original equation. So once we test x is equal to minus 2, again by plugging in minus 2 in where there's x in the original equation, we're going to get the square root of minus 2 plus 6, which is equal to the square root of 4, which is actually not equal to minus 2, because we have to remember that we need the square root of 4 to have one definite value in general, and that value is actually 2. So minus 2 isn't a correct answer here, because minus 2 is not equal to the square root of 4. And when we plug in for x is equal to 3, we're going to get the root of 9, or 3 plus 6. So root 9, which is actually equal to 3. So the solution to this part A is x is equal to 3. And that's our final answer. And if we're doing this properly, remembering to test your answer and coming to the conclusion that x is equal to 3 is what you need, you will get 10 marks. And for part B, we're asked to differentiate x minus root x plus 6 with respect to x. So let's just let f of x be equal to x minus root x plus 6. And now we're actually going to rewrite this root x plus 6 because it's going to be quite confusing to differentiate that, as we prefer to deal with indices if we can at all. So we're going to rewrite this as x minus x plus 6 to the power of 1/2, because the square root is just another way of writing to the power of 1/2. So to proceed now, we're just going to have to figure out how we're going to differentiate this. So it's going to be quite easy to differentiate x, but to do this part of the equation, we're going to need the chain rule. And the chain rule is available here on page 14 of log tables. It's just here beside your table. So let's now, using the chain rule, try to figure out what f dash x is. So firstly, just differentiating x, we're just going to get 1. And that's very basic. Hopefully you've got that much down. Now let's first of all bring down our half up here in the top right in front. So we're going to multiply it by 1/2. What's inside the bracket always stays the same. So that's x plus 6. And now this x plus 6 is going to be to the power of 1/2 minus 1, because we're going to have to reduce it when we're differentiating, and it's going to be minus 1/2. And in this case, the derivative of what's inside the bracket is actually equal to 1 anyways, so we don't need to do anything, but just for clarity's sake, we're going to write down times 1, because the derivative of x plus 6 is equal to 1. And so there's our f dash x. So that's actually your final answer. You can rewrite it if you want to be a little bit more neat, but that'll get your full marks. So there's it rewritten a bit more neatly, but again, not fully necessary to do that. And for differentiating x minus root x plus 6, you're going to get 5 marks. So on to part C now, we've got to find the coordinates of the turning point of the function y is equal to x minus root x plus 6, where x is greater than or equal to minus 6. Okay, so straight away the word turning point is going to jump out at us, because the turning point is associated with the derivative, which we just found. So first of all, just rewriting f of x, and also rewriting f dash x, because we're also going to need that here. So let's firstly find the x coordinate of the turning point, and to do that we're going to have to find f dash x is equal to 0. So therefore we're left with this equation after we bring across our big fraction, and it's just 1 is equal to 1 over 2 root x plus 6, So by multiplying across by 2 root x plus 6, we're going to get rid of our fraction. And we can now also divide by 2, which will make this equal to a half. And when you square a half, to get rid of the square root, you're going to have x plus 6 is equal to a quarter. So therefore x is equal to minus 5 3/4. So now we find our x coordinate, but the trick here is to find both coordinates, x and y. So we're going to need to plug this x value now back into f of x, which we have up here. So once we plug in minus 5 3/4 where there's an x, after some cancellation, we're left with the answer minus 6 1/4. And that's our y value. So therefore our turning point is going to be minus 5 3/4, minus 6 1/4. So there's our question. Trick here is just to let the derivative equal to 0, and then once you have your x coordinate, plug back into the original function to find your y coordinate. And for getting all that out, you're going to get 10 marks. So that's it for part C, and that's actually it for the whole of question 5. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, there's going to be other similar questions in the description for more practice, and also some helpful videos if you found it a bit more difficult, and if you just want to brush up on your differentiation skills. And I'll see you in the next video.